The good, the bad, the ugly. This is gonna ruin your life. She's crying, and it's not because of moving, it's because... And that sucks. It sucks. Be like physically uncomfortable, and you're gonna be in this like weird time limbo. And you're like, did I make the right decision? Was I just like romanticizing this whole thing? We're moving to Brazil in 2 months. Another thing that sucks about living abroad, people move on with their lives as they should. Because now you're like, I can't lose this job. So I'm gonna go to the grocery store, I'm gonna get the things. You can't find the things. Just a lot of newness punching me in the face. Exciting. I was like, I'm gonna learn the language. I'm gonna like try my best. Actually, it sucks. I wouldn't say like tell your boss, like, hey, don't expect a lot from me, but like maybe anticipate that the first month you're not gonna be fully there. I'm talking about breaking a lease. I'm talking about staying in a hotel. I'm talking about getting rid of your cars. Something happens to your mind when you know, I'm not going to Japan for no 3 months. I'm not going to Brazil for 6 months. I'm moving there. We stayed in Japan for 3.5 years. After that, we moved back to the United States and San Diego. The things I have like survived mentally, physically, financially. Oh, I'm moving to another city. Not the same. Oh, I'm gonna just move to another state. It's not the same. Oh, I'm gonna move across the country of my home country. It's not the same. So like ask yourselves the hard question, completely blindsided, and expect this like amazing romantic. It's just not. You might not see the sign that you made the right decision until way after. So moving abroad sucks. And not even for like the obvious reasons. I mean, I'm not gonna get into the obvious reasons because I feel like even if you've never actually moved abroad, you can kind of guess why it would suck. So, you know, like obvious things that everybody already kind of talks about, which is feeling lonely and feeling like you miss your friends and you miss your family, things like that. So I will say those are all true. But, you know, let's chat more about the less obvious things. Why those were kind of, I find to be harder than the more obvious ones, just because there's like that element of surprise. For me, I'm the type of person that like, I try to think of every scenario that I can to see if I can like survive it. And if I can plan ahead and have my mind like, okay, I know this is gonna happen. Like we knew this was gonna come. So it's not as like, you know, shocking and scary because the element of surprise is gone. I'm that type of person. I like thrive a little bit better in scenarios that I was like, oh, I kind of had an idea that this would happen. And moving abroad is very much like that. I've moved abroad 4 times now at different like chapters in life. So I started as a child. So my parents moved from Brazil to the United States. And that was around the time where the internet didn't exist. So, you know, very different than now. They were like raw dogging immigrating and moving abroad. There was no YouTube influencer videos. There was no Google. There was no, you know, translating things on your phone. There was no smartphone, period. And even if there was, they wouldn't have been able to actually afford it. So, you know, they were the OGs. I mean, they were definitely raw dogging, moving. They didn't know the language. They didn't know anyone there. And by there, I mean like where they migrated to. So definitely different, definitely a whole set of challenges that like nowadays, no matter your financial situation, you don't have to deal with that. Most people have some type of smartphone, and because they have some type of smartphone, you're able to like translate things. You're able to figure out where to go. You're able to go on the internet and like talk to people, all of those things, right? So definitely completely different. That was like my first experience. Granted, I was a child. I was 10 years old. So not like super young, but not old enough that like everything was on me to figure out. And as far as like the actual move, I will say that I grew up real quick because I learned English faster than my parents did. And so because of that, I was a classic immigrant child who learned the language faster than the parents. And so suddenly I was in charge of translating things and helping them make adult decisions because I understood the language better than they did. So I very quickly lost that sort of childhood factor. But anyways, so I've had that experience. That was my first sort of immigrating experience. I was 10 years old from Brazil to the United States. And then after that, I stayed in the US through high school, went to college, and then I moved to different cities within the US, then I moved to different states within the US. So I started smaller on my own in terms of like moving out of your home and comfort. So that started when I was like 18. So I started getting my feet wet in terms of like what it's like to leave your comfort bubble. After that, my next big move was moving out of state. So from Massachusetts to like New York, and then New York to New Jersey, and New Jersey back to Rhode Island, then Rhode Island to back to Boston. Then from there, I moved to California, and that was like the big one, right, for me at the time. So those are, because it's like now you're not just moving to another state, you're moving across the country. That was a big one. And then after that, I went bigger and I moved to Japan. And with child, so I was pregnant, like 6-7 months pregnant. And so I moved to Japan with my husband and my 2 dogs. And that was like my big, on my own, not on my own, but like obviously I had my husband. I mean, like without my parents and anyone telling me or making that decision for me. That was like my big first moving abroad. It was my decision type of experience. So then that happened. We stayed in Japan for 3.5 years. After that, we moved back to the United States and San Diego. We've been here for 3 years now. We're moving to Brazil in 2 months. So I'm not like the biggest expert, I would say, about moving abroad, but I definitely am experienced, and I've sort of had multiple perspectives from like moving as a child to moving as a young adult to moving as like an experienced adult. Experience isn't like I've moved before, to moving as a parent. I feel like I have those perspectives on my pocket. Like I know what it's like to be a child with no control over your life, and you're just following your parents along to another country. And then I know what it's like to be an adult that is responsible for another human being, because that is very different from the influencers you see like on YouTube that are like digital nomads, and they're like moving to another country and they're kind of like on their own, right? Like they're making decisions for themselves. Maybe they have a partner, maybe they have a dog, but like you're not responsible for another human being in terms of like how that decision is going to impact their life until you become a parent. So I feel like those videos are very different. The reality there is very different from people that move with children. Now, if you're not a child, you're not an adult moving with a child, then this video is still useful because there are still a lot of like surprise elements about why moving abroad sucks that I feel like applies to whether you have a child or not. I mean, let's just go over the obvious ones, which we mentioned. You're gonna feel lonely. You're gonna question yourself. You're gonna wonder if you made the right decision. You're gonna wonder if this is gonna ruin your life. You're gonna wonder if you're gonna fail. All of those are like natural things to worry about. So I'm not saying that's not gonna happen. It could. She's crying, and it's not because of moving. It's because my eyelashes. Right before you move, you're kind of in like a wait zone. Everyone talks about like, I made the decision and I sold all my things and I quit my job and decided to follow my dreams, which is like very much a thing. Like that's real. It's dope. It's very empowering. It's scary, but it's like exhilarating. But a lot of videos don't chat through the process of that, of like actually selling your things. Doesn't really, I mean, I guess you could sell it way in advance, but then you think about it, right? You have nothing. You don't have a house. You don't have a place to sleep, like a bed. How are you gonna get around? So I live in California, which is highly dependent of a car. It's not a very like walkable state. The US in general is not. The surprise element there is that you're pretty much in a waiting period right before you actually leave. And that happens maybe like a month or 2-3 months right before. So that's kind of a surprise, because it sounds like people sell their things and do all these things like way in advance. I think your planning period can start in advance for sure, right? We made the decision to move abroad a long time ago, like over a year and a half ago. So you're not actually moving until a couple months before. I'm talking selling your house. I'm talking about renting your house. I'm talking about breaking a lease. I'm talking about staying in a hotel. I'm talking about getting rid of your cars. I'm talking about finding people that actually want to buy your stuff. Because when people talk about, oh, I just sold all my things and sold my car and followed my dreams. Yeah, that selling part takes time. Not everyone's gonna like be madly in love with your stuff and suddenly buy it all at a yard sale in 2 days over the weekend, or even on Facebook Marketplace. Those things take time, at least they did from us. So that's probably the one thing I would start earlier, but even then, like, it's a process, especially selling your car. So that's like a surprise element about why moving abroad definitely sucks, is you're not gonna have things perfectly timed out, right? There's gonna be an overlap. So you're either gonna have the ability to break your lease right before you move, but then you're like couch surfing, or you're staying in hotels until then, or you're gonna have all of your things gone, but then you're not gonna have actual mattress and furniture. So you're gonna be like physically uncomfortable, and you're gonna be in this like weird time limbo where you're neither settled where you're moving from, and you're not settled yet where you're moving to. Regardless if you have a place lined up, you got friends waiting for you at this new country, you got a job waiting for you at this new country, there is going to be that like in between time limbo, and that sucks. It sucks. It feels like forever. You're uncomfortable, you're unsure, and that's when your deep dark thoughts start crawling in about whether you made the right decision or not. All of those things happen around that time. The other thing that sucks about moving abroad, and this is like not trendy to say or admit, I guess, when people talk about things and materialistic stuff and superficial comforts, it's not like cool to be like, actually it sucks to not have those things. Actually it sucks to not have my coffee machine anymore. Actually it sucks to be sleeping in a bed that's not mine anymore. Those things that, yes, they're materialistic things, and like, who cares? Because at the end of the day, we don't need those things to survive. We don't take those things when we leave this earth. So it's not that it's wrong when people say you'll be fine without stuff. Like, you don't need all your stuff. Like, that's true. You don't. But one of the biggest surprises every time I move is how much my stuff makes my space feel like home. And when my space feels like home, my anxiety and my comfort in terms of like, I'm doing the right thing, I'm moving in the right place, my safe, peaceful place is heavily dependent on those things, whether I want to admit it or not. Most people don't want to admit that, because then it's like you're saying all the things that you're hoarding around that you don't actually need, all your clothes, all your extra crap, all of this and that, they actually do matter. One thing that I'll use an example is with children. It's not even just like their favorite stuffy. So imagine the comfort that a stuffy in a blanket brings a child in a really scary new space, right? So it's exciting. You found the place, you found the apartment, you found the house, you found the city you want to move to, you're there. But then consider the fact that it's still new. It's still like an unknown. And I find that I'm a very adventurous type. I love change. I thrive in chaos. But even having that type of personality, it's still really difficult for me. Emotionally, you're like, everything is new at the same time. So there is no comfort that comes from like the known. And now factor in the fact that you just sold all of your stuff. That's a pretty big hit. on your nervous system. And it might sound a little dramatic, but obviously you can pack like a luggage of the things that are really important to you so that you can have that immediately as you get there. But again, it's like the combination of how you decorate your bedroom, how you organize your kitchen, how you lay out your child's play area. So again, going back to like how a child's stuffy and favorite blanket can bring that much comfort, it's very similar for adults, like whether you want to admit that or not. And that there's not much you can do about that, right? Because it's like, I mean, I guess if you have a lot of money, you can just bring all of your things. But let's say you're bringing all your things, and if you're truly moving abroad, you're not moving like to another city or state. You're probably gonna put it in a container, and that container needs to like cross the ocean wherever you're going. Usually an ocean involved. And that takes time. Like when we shipped some of our stuff to Japan, it took like over a month to get there, which doesn't sound like a big deal. But again, imagine all of the things happening at once, all of the newness happening at once, and you're also waiting for your comforting things to arrive for over a month. That definitely takes a toll. It's the space that makes you feel like it's yours and you're at home, and that takes time. The country you're moving to, never mind that's definitely gonna take time. I would say a year. Realistically, one of the things that sucks about moving abroad is that the first year is definitely the hardest, and it's like misleading. That first year, I would say the first couple of months, you're like super excited, everything's new and it's like adventure time, and maybe you're a little overwhelmed, but you're still like in the honeymoon phase with the country and city that you've chosen, and you're still like, wow, I can't believe I'm here, you know, like, so that's definitely like the honeymoon phase. And then that starts to kind of wind down, so maybe you're hitting a season that is not so fun for the place you've chosen. Maybe you're approaching a birthday that you're realizing you're about to miss for someone you love because you've chosen to leave. There's that. Those moments start creeping up. And then I would say about halfway, if you're moving to a country where you don't speak the language, now it's not fun anymore. It's like frustrating, right? Because like a scenario example would be for me when we moved to Japan. It was cool, it was exciting. I was like, I'm gonna learn the language, I'm gonna like try my best, and I did. But sometimes, a lot of the time, you're just trying to go grocery shopping, right? So another thing that could suck about moving abroad is that you are just trying to navigate your day-to-day life, and you just don't want things to be so difficult. You don't want that kind of friction. I'm just trying to get to the grocery store. I'm trying to like make dinner tonight. I want comfort food, right? I had a difficult time. I've had a difficult transition. I just want to make something that I know is gonna make me feel, this is cozy, this reminds me of home. So I'm gonna go to the grocery store, I'm gonna get the things. You can't find the things. You don't know the things. You don't know the ingredients. You don't know the brands. You don't know what's good, what's not. You don't understand a lot of the translations. You don't understand where to find it. You don't understand what aisle it's in because everything's new. And even with Google Translate, like that was still a thing for me in Japan. Even with Google Translate, I was still like, okay, this is like not what I thought it was gonna be. It's not as easy as I thought it was gonna be. It's not as like frictionless as I thought it was gonna be because I have technology. Like, no, it's still hard. So I would say like those moments of, I'm having a shitty day, I just want to get this done. It's a simple task, and it suddenly is not simple because you're in a completely new country. You know what I mean? The other sort of like prize, I guess, just piggyback off of that is like the amount of time that it takes to do find like a routine, you know? I feel like human beings in general, we find comfort in routine. I'm like the opposite. Routine actually makes me feel anxious, which is weird. I get it. Only therapy can unlock that for me. We haven't gotten there yet. But I will say that generally speaking, routine tends to bring some comfort for most people, especially children. And when you move abroad, one of the things that sucks about that is that you're not like, no, everything's new. So there is no routine. You have to create that for yourself, even if it's like, oh, I'm gonna have coffee and this is my new coffee moment in the mornings, and I'm gonna do this in the mornings, and I'm gonna do that in the mornings. That also becomes something you have to figure out that you didn't really need to figure out before, you know? Just to kind of close the loop on the first year being the most misleading is because of those like highs and lows and those like moments of, okay, this is exciting, this is cool, I got this, I finally figured this out, I finally got this route down, I finally have the space, right, that I know I can go, and I know which aisle the things are at. And you're about like, let's say 6 to 8 months in, but then it's like usually holidays start creeping in, and again, birthdays start creeping in, bad weather starts creeping in, and then it's just like not fun anymore. It's not exciting anymore. And you're like, did I make the right decision? Was I just like romanticizing this whole thing? I think that's another really big crappy part about moving abroad is the sheer amount of self-doubt that you'll have. And again, I consider myself like down for the adventure. Like, I don't necessarily see myself as like somebody that's like easily shaken up and easily defeated. And even with my personality, I still have those constant thoughts. So if you're somebody who kind of needs reassurances or needs like instant, I wouldn't say instant gratification, but some sort of like sign that what you're doing is the right thing, I would say don't expect that right away. Feeling and proof or signs that you like did the right thing, that's not going to come up for a little while, I would say. Actually, one of the biggest shockers, I would say, is that how long that can take to actually show up. The sign that what you did and the decision that you made was difficult, but it was actually great and it actually worked out perfect. A lot of those signs you're not gonna see that for a while. I don't mean to discourage you, but it could be while as in like, you might not see the signs that what you did and the decision you made to move abroad and pursue your passions, your dreams, the life that you wanted to make for yourself. You might not see the sign that you made the right decision until way after. Sometimes it doesn't come up until you leave that country and you realize it's been a few years and you're like, wow, when I made the decision to move to Japan, looking back on it, it was very, very difficult, especially that first year. And it was like COVID and I was pregnant. It was my first child. Just a lot of newness punching me in the face and getting through it. Once I left Japan, I was like sobbing. I was like, I don't want to leave. This is such an important place to me now. Like, it has my heart. It lives with me. It's molded me in ways that it wouldn't have been possible had I not made that decision to move. So, I think even to this day, that really didn't come up until after I left Japan. Don't expect some kind of like universe reward. I know that sounds discouraging, but you know, that's another reason why moving abroad sucks. You're not gonna get these like cookies and good jobs and high fives that you might normally get in your hometown, in your circle of friends and families, and you're like, you know, people move on. It's another thing that sucks about living abroad. People move on with their lives as they should. And there's like this really high emotional roller coaster of like leaving. Once you're like settled into the new country you've moved to, people's lives like move on. All of the people that you've like left behind, as in like the ones that stayed in your hometown, your home country, nothing really changed for them aside from you leaving. So let's say even if you're like a best friend, somebody's best friend, their lives are gonna move on without you. You're going to see things online that they post of your favorite spots they used to go together, The places that you introduced to other people that you've introduced to other people, you're gonna see them continue on that life that you used to be a part of. And that's like really difficult sometimes to see. And it's like confusing. I feel like I don't really I don't feel like I can complain here. I feel like I'm not really allowed to have these feelings of, dang, I feel like I'm missing out because you chose to leave, right? And what are they gonna do? Like invite you? Like that's not a thing. So that's another really big reason why moving abroad sucks, is because you're just gonna slowly watch yourself not just physically drift away because you're in a new country, but like socially that happens where you're just like, wow, I'm no longer like in the weeds, right? People are no longer defaulting to me for things like life updates, for example. It's no longer you because the proximity, the physical proximity is gone. That's also a thing that I think most human beings need, is to have physical proximity to continue on a relationship of some sort, you know, relationship like friendships. And I'm talking about like your ride or dies, your childhood friends, your friends of 10 years, you know, the ones that you were hanging out with 3 times, 4 times a week, the ones that you called every other day. It's still, friendships and connections still get tested heavily, and it's nobody's fault. It's just, again, you left. That's a big thing that happens. Like a lot of the times people talk about is, well, you chose to leave, so you should be the one by default that pursues people more, that reaches out more, that calls more, that sends things more, that like really tries more to keep that relationship alive. Not only are you kind of navigating this new life and this foreign place that you, yes, chose to be at, it's still difficult, even if that was your choice. So not only are you kind of navigating through those emotions, you're gonna feel also responsible to like continue those relationships that you left in your home country, right? And that always felt, I don't know, it doesn't feel great sometimes. It doesn't feel great because think about it, like you're kind of expecting people to miss you too. It's not just you're missing them. And so when that doesn't necessarily happen, or you're not seeing it as balanced because you're the one that reaches out more, that starts to kind of like hurt a little bit and mess with you a little bit. But again, normal. Jobs. Let's talk about jobs. Let's say you move for a job. Let's say you move kind of knowing you had something lined up, and so you got your finances locked in, right? As in like, I'm not moving nowhere until I know for sure I can continue having a source of income that is not dependent on where I will be. Let's say you did that. I would recommend that to be your step 1. And so let's say that's boxes checked off. You did the things, you adulting, good job. You made sure. There's going to be a transition period, no matter how prepared you thought you were, because of the emotional state that you're gonna be in. You're gonna be so caught up with life at this new place and trying to get situated that there's a really, I wouldn't say a huge chance, but at least for me, I'm like, my job is fully dependent on my mind and my ability to be creative and tap into ideas and concepts and strategies. I'm a creative director. I do work full-time. So I'm very fortunate that I'm able to kind of just like work from anywhere, and they don't care as long as I'm still, my results are there and my clients are happy and my job and manager and CEO is happy. But there is a moment where you're kind of like, your head's not in the game because your head is in the move, you know? And so because your head is kind of like focused on getting situated, you're not gonna have like your A game for work. So there needs to be like a little bit of a buffer period considered, I would say. I wouldn't say like tell your boss, like, hey, don't expect a lot from me, but like maybe anticipate that the first month you're not gonna be fully there. So maybe you work really hard right before you leave, or maybe your job is able to kind of like allow you to work ahead, and so you don't release all of the things you worked ahead on or the extra hours you put in. You know what I mean? It's fully dependent on the type of job you have, but I would say that's kind of like a big thing that no one kind of talks about, is losing your momentum within your career or job or clients because you are emotionally and physically going through this like transition. And I would say I'm pretty like ambitious and I'm pretty like experienced in my field. I've been a creative director for a long time. So I would say even with that, I still have like imposter syndrome and I still feel worried about my job and the security of my job, right? So there's a lot of that comes with moving abroad that gets heightened because now you're like, I can't lose this job. You know, like what is that gonna look like if I lose this job? It's just a lot of your comfort zones are taken and shaken up, even if you're pretty secure, even if you're secure in your relationship, even if you're secure in your friendships, even if you're secure in your job, your career, your income. Moving abroad puts things into question just because of the tension that comes from such a big move. Just because of how you're going to change as a person and how that's going to impact you as a friend, as a sister, as a daughter, as a employee, as a boss, you know? So things are going to shift in your life, which just is hard not to be reflected in relationships and performance and all of those things. So I feel like a lot of that isn't really spoken about because maybe a lot of the videos that I've watched is more from like a digital nomad perspective and a lot of like, oh, I can just move back, or it's like kind of semi-permanent. But if you're moving abroad to actually move abroad and not just to kind of like experience the culture as a digital nomad for 3 to 6 months or even a year, that is also a big shift. Making the decision to leave a country that you know, whether you were born there or not, that's your home country, that's your comfort zone, knowing that you're going to go to a new country for a long time. Something happens to your mind when you know, I'm not going to Japan for no 3 months. I'm not going to Brazil for 6 months. I'm moving there. I am uprooting my current life and rerouting it, and it's not going to be temporary. That is a really big difference in your mindset, at least for me, versus like vacationing, which you know is like, I'm just going to vacation, versus I'm going for a month, versus I'm going for 6 months, versus I'm going for 3+ years. You can't convince me otherwise that your mind is not the same when you're going for a long period of time, which I feel like a lot of digital nomads are not. Their mindset is not quite there because they have the flexibility to just, oh, if it doesn't work out for me, I'll just leave. I'll go to the next adventure. I'll go to the next country on my bucket list. So those types, I call those like mental safety nets. Those are gold, right? Because you need them in the moments where you're feeling like, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what next month's gonna look like. Find something that gives you that mental safety net. So whether that's a savings, whether that's having a place to come back to if things don't work out, find whatever that mental safety net looks like for you, because that's gonna really help you navigate those hard moments of living abroad in a much easier way, because you're not gonna make like these desperate decisions because you're like, this is the only option I have. Like, no, you have options. You're gonna be okay. You have people that love you. And you've built out this cushion for yourself of, if things don't work out, I will do X, Y, and Z. I think that's like more important sometimes to have that mental like peace of some sort than a huge fat savings account. Is it more important? I don't know. I think some people would argue otherwise, but for me, I'm like, I can have money saved up, but like if I don't have the other things that bring me mental peace, which is like health and a place to like go to and people that will welcome me back, I don't know that a savings account can really give me the same feeling. Does that make sense? I'm not saying like don't have a savings account, but I'm saying have difficult conversations with yourself and be honest with yourself about what it is that you need to have mental safety nets, because moving abroad sucks. It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna test you. It's gonna stretch you in a way that is incredible, one of one type of experience. You cannot replicate this, really. You can't replicate the feeling and the process and the aftermath and the reward of moving abroad. Can't do it. Oh, I'm moving to another city. Not the same. Oh, I'm gonna just move to another state. It's not the same. Oh, I'm gonna move across the country of my home country. It's not the same. I'm not taking away from those experiences. Those are great. But having done all of those myself, especially as like little baby steps, like almost like I'm building up the courage for the bigger one and then the bigger one and then the bigger one. Every time I do the next hard thing and the next big move, I look back on like, oh my God, I was like terrified about moving to another city. I was terrified about moving to another state. I was terrified about moving to Japan during 2020 while pregnant. And now I'm like, I'm not terrified. Can't tell me nothing. The things I have witnessed myself get through, the things I have like survived mentally, physically, financially. It's not like it's a walk in the park. It's still hard. It's still shitty. But it's definitely not like I'm chilling. I know that no matter how hard and no matter how many surprises that I didn't account for and things that creep up that I didn't plan and couldn't add to my mental equation of probabilities, I know even in those moments, like I'm okay, you know, because I've built up this like roster of experience and tolerance and like confidence in myself to get through those things. So no, there is no other experience you can replicate that comes with what happens when you move abroad. So I hope this was helpful and not discouraging, because if you're the type of person that needs like want to know the good, the bad, the ugly, that was the intent here, was to kind of help you anticipate some of those things, but also like ask yourselves the hard questions and then try to mentally prepare for those instead of being completely blindsided and expect this like amazing, romantic, exhilarating experience every day that you're there. You know, it's gonna happen, but it's not the full story. Does that make sense? And yes, it's worth it. Even on the hard days, it's worth it because of those glimpses of this is incredible. I can't believe I did this. And oh my God, I'd be a different person if I didn't do this, and not in a great way. So it's worth it. Do it. Any questions you have, let me know. Good luck.